Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us for our monthly webinar. This is kind of a different webinar that we're doing today. Instead of talking about conversion optimization theory, instead of giving specific case studies, we want to talk about some of the factors that help you conduct a successful conversion optimization program. I have with me my partner, Ayash Carey, who runs
Hello,
most of our
everyone.
projects. She knows probably what makes a project successful and not so successful. Ayat?
Hi, everyone. I look forward to really talking about this. I think it's really important.
Very good, excellent, excellent. One of the things, kind of typically, if you attend our webinars, of course, you can send us questions. We'll be monitoring those questions. Just let's make it interactive as much as possible. We try and take some of those questions, answer them sometimes during the webinar itself, sometimes at the end of the webinar. So with that, we'll go ahead and get started. I see that this is probably one of our most attended webinars to date. Let's go ahead and jump in. So one of the things that we want to talk about in this webinar, like I mentioned, the goal from this webinar is to help you conduct a successful conversion rate optimization program. And I don't want to talk about successful conversion optimization projects because we believe that it really takes multiple successful projects in order for you to realize a significant increase in conversion rates. In order for us to do that, we want to talk about commitment. We're going to talk about technology. We're going to talk about the required resources. We are also going to talk about the starting point for any successful conversion optimization program. And finally, we're going to talk about the guessing game. And if you attended some of our webinars, we might have covered some of these topics, but we're going to try and drill a little deeper into each one of those topics. Now, the very first thing that we want to talk about is the commitment that is required to conduct a successful conversion rate optimization program. And you probably hear this with all types of marketing programs out there. Conversion optimization is no different. Conversion optimization is a process. It's not a light switch to be turned on. It is rather a continuous improvement process. It is a process that you analyze your website, you determine the areas that require improvement, you improve those areas, you analyze the results, and you go further into conducting further testing and further improvements on the website. One of the typical questions that I hear from lots of our partners when they first start: how long will it take for me to actually finish conversion optimization? And I always answer them with the same answer: it never stops. Conversion optimization, as long as you are able to see continuous improvements month to month, you should continue with conversion optimization. One of our longtime customers started with us with doing 250 orders per month, and that was back in 2009. They are up to 1,250 orders per month. Significant increase in the number of orders, maintaining the same levels of traffic. They get about half a million visitors a month. So they went from 250 orders to 1,250 orders a month. Of course, their average order value is close to $1,700. So you can just do the math quickly and understand the significant increase they've had in their monthly revenue.
Now, what I'd add to this, Khalid, is just that, a lot of times when we have some partners, when they join us, they already have in mind that, we're going to try it for a month and see how things go. If you have that mentality to begin conversion optimization, the reality is that you're not going to necessarily be successful because you can't have that attitude to begin with. You have to understand that it is a long-term commitment and there is a lot of analysis that goes in it before actually seeing results.
Yeah, I recall one of our recent customers. We conducted the first month of testing for them, and it was an incredible result. I think we saw about a 35% uplift in conversion rates. And the CEO called me up and he said, guys, this is great. However, I need to stop the program. And, it's one thing when you don't see results that you want to cancel the program. So I told him, well, did you have a change in priorities? I understand, companies are driven by priorities and you might have new projects that come up. He said, no, not really. No shift in priorities. Second question, well, was there a clash in culture? Sometimes, you work with a company and you don't achieve, the attitudes and the way we view things don't mesh all too well. He said, no, I enjoyed working with you guys. So I had to ask him, so why are you stopping the conversion optimization program? He said, well, I was hoping for a 65% uplift in conversion rates from the first month. And although we saw 35%, that was way below my expectations. Now, this is sort of puzzling to me because we always tell our partners and our customers that that conversion optimization is a process, that the goal is to see incremental improvements month to month and not to expect a humongous improvement in 1 month. And he looked at me and he said, Khalid, I know you told me that, but I was really hoping for that 65% from the very first month. Now, some of the questions that we hear regularly and some of the questions that you want to think about before you start a conversion optimization program is, some of those questions are, what kind of uplifts should I expect? If I conduct a program over a 12-month period, what kind of uplifts should I be expecting? Because really, ultimately, you want to do an ROI analysis to say, does this make sense for me based on my volumes, based on my traffic, based on the revenue that I'm generating and I can expect to generate? So that's a very important question to ask. The second question is, how long does it take for me to see an actual uplift? Should I expect an uplift from the first month? Should I wait for 6 months? And those are, I think, are very critical questions to think about and to actually also try and figure out before you start a conversion optimization program. Now, mind you, one of the things that I want to emphasize is nowadays, every company, every online company conducts SEO. They conduct probably email campaigns, social media, PPC. And I think it is ingrained in our mind that we have to do those programs continuously because these are the programs that generate the traffic to our website. These are the programs that bring visitors to our website. Unfortunately, the same attitude and mindset is not applied to conversion optimization. People still think of conversion optimization of something on the periphery of online marketing. Although, if you think about it, ultimately, the reason that you exist online is to generate either revenue or brand awareness. And conversion optimization is really at the heart of those. So if you're able to generate more revenue from your existing traffic without actually having to pay for additional traffic, then you are doing very well for yourself. Typically, when we talk to partners and companies who are interested in conversion optimization, we tell them that you need to think about doing conversion optimization for a minimum of 3 to 4 months. And this is not necessarily like whether you're going outside and you want to hire a conversion optimization company, or if you want to do it on your own in-house. The goal is to give the conversion optimization program a chance to succeed. Now, what do I mean by 3 to 4 months, and what would it take? What's important for you is you need to have a complete buy-in from all the stakeholders who are going to be involved in the project, those who are allocating the budget for the project. They all need to buy in on this period of 3 to 4 months. That's number one. Number two is you need to have the resources. You need to have, and we'll talk about the specific resources required to conduct a successful CRO program, but you need to have those resources ready and available. You need to have the budgets. Even if you're conducting something in-house, again, you have to have that very well planned, time and resources allocated. I know you deal a lot with the buy-in issues and stakeholders. Anything you want to add over here?
Yeah, I mean, I think in general, if you have even one stakeholder in the company that isn't happy or isn't completely convinced with conversion optimization, you're going to find that probably a couple of months down the road, they're going to want to cancel. So it's essential, I mean, because what we find is a lot of times you'll have kind of like the marketing specialist or, you know, somebody who's heading kind of the marketing department, the one that's, you know, really convinced with conversion optimization and knows that this is going to have a positive impact on the website. So the way that they convince the other stakeholders may be, you know, somewhat kind of a muddled version of what really is, you know, what you're buying into and what really conversion optimization entails. So it's really critical that they have kind of that full picture and everybody understands, everybody's on the full page, and everybody really believes in conversion optimization completely and wants to kind of go for it and wants to give that year commitment to it.
Very good. Excellent. Excellent. Now, I saw that there's at least one comment complaining about the quality of the voice. I'm hoping that everybody can hear us clearly. Please indicate if you are struggling with the quality of the voice. We're trying to control that over here. we'll ask the team to kind of look over that.
Yeah, I mean, I think what's happening in general is your voice is kind of going at some points. I'm not really sure why this is happening.
Let me try and figure this one out. We went we went and bought specific headsets because we've struggled with the audio control on some of these webinars in the past. So I will try and get close over here, and hopefully we'll manage this better. Okay, let's continue talking about commitment, and let's talk about the expectations. Now, let me show you some real data from one of the customers that came to us, and they had conducted a conversion optimization program. They ran the program for about 7 months, and then they came to us and they showed us the results, which I thought were interesting, and it shows to some level a commitment to conversion optimization. So this was one of the first months that they've conducted the testing, and as you see over here, negative 2.72%. So a decrease in conversion rates, not exactly what you're hoping for after you've implemented a test. The second month, negative 2.34. Again, they saw a negative, a drop in their conversion rate, so they're having to go back to the original. And the third month, they achieved I would dare say it, call it a measly 0.68% uplift. I know if you have a humongous website with tens of millions of visitors, such an improvement in conversion rates would have been great. However, as you see over here, the reality of it, the confidence level was at 60%, so it's really what we call an insignificant, irrelevant uplift or downward movement in conversion rates. Now, what's important over here is to pinpoint something about conversion optimization testing. There are 3 types of tests that you conduct. There are some tests that you conduct and you will see an increase in conversion rates. And there's plenty of those if you are following a specific methodology, if you're following a specific process. And we love those tests. There are other kinds of tests. For example, over here, when you see a negative 2.72, a negative 5%, a negative 10%, those are, although they are painful to deal with, and you have to explain to your CEO and VP of marketing why you saw a decrease in conversion rates, you can still benefit from these tests. How do you benefit from these tests? Because that tells you that the hypothesis that you made for the test is an opposite hypothesis. It means that the visitors are reacting negatively to your hypothesis. So that is something that you can learn from and benefit from in creating new further tests. The problematic test is something similar to this, what we saw, 0.68. For us, anywhere between a 1% uplift or a negative 1% downward movement. That tells us that we made what we call an irrelevant hypothesis. Really no impact on conversion rates. Visitors did not react to anything that you did. And those are the tests that we worry about. So you will have a few of those as you are conducting a conversion optimization program, but you don't want to have them again and again appearing. Now, let's look at the kind of long-term 16 months results for this one particular customer. Let me show you something actually. That when they first came to us, they had panicked tremendously, thinking that, well, what's going on over here? Are we going to cancel the conversion optimization program or not? One of the things that you want to ask for when you see negative results that are piling month after month, one of the questions that you want to ask for, did you allow enough time for testing? Is 3 months enough, or should we be going for 6 months, or should we be going for 9 months? Those are valid questions that you need to ask. And let's see, the next question that you want to ask is, what methodology was used to select the pages that you're testing? Did you just randomly select the pages and say, hey, we need to start, let's just pick the home page, let's select the pages with the highest bounce rate, and let's start? Was there an actual thought process behind selecting the pages? And maybe if there wasn't one, maybe that's the reason you are not seeing an uplift in conversion rates. The third question that you want to ask, what evaluation process was used to determine what changes need to be made on these particular pages? You have a main home page and you want to design a new main home page for your website and you want to test them against each other. What process did you follow to come up with this new design for the particular new home page? Or was it just a designer sitting in a room and just throwing something that he thinks looks good and then just crossing your fingers and hoping it will beat your original design? The final question that you want to ask when you are seeing such negative results consistently is, was the testing process conducted correctly? And this deserves a webinar on its own. One of the challenges that we have, and lots of times we run into, is a customer comes to us and says, we saw negative results. And then when we look at the data and the way they've implemented the test, sometimes they've implemented the test from a technical perspective incorrectly. Sometimes they did not isolate certain levels of traffic for that test. Sometimes the analysis or the market situation for that particular test were not favorable. For example, we've had one customer who at some point saw a negative decrease in their conversion rates. And when we looked at the site, there was nothing visible that would tell us why the conversion rates went down. However, when we looked at one of their competitors, that competitor was running a 40 to 50% sale for about a week. And that explained why the testing data was polluted at that point in time. Now, let's take the same customer and that we showed you over here with the negative 2.72, the 2.34, the third month was 0.68, and I'm showing you over here 60 months of data when they actually looked at 16 months program of testing and look at the results. As you see over here, when we sat with them in the 7th month, we figured out, okay, there's no process really to testing. It was just sort of sitting together and throwing things together and then praying that one of them would be the original. That does not work. When you have a process and methodology, you can actually start producing results. As you see, there was a major transformation. So on the 7th month, they went from the 0.21 an irrelevant test results to the 7th month looking at 8% uplift in conversion rate. The 8th month was 12% uplift in conversion rates. And what you see also, and what's important to set expectations, and it's very critical to think about this, not every month you'll have a double-digit increase in conversion rates. And that's what sets wrong expectations. That will make you unhappy in the long run. Because if you look at over here at the 9th month, for example, the test results produce a 27% uplift in conversion rates. The 10th month produced a 2.36% uplift in conversion rates. So you'll have kind of an uplift consistently. However, it's not going to be the same level every month. The average for the customer over a 16 months period was an 8.39%. The average, if you just remove the first 6 months, sorry, you'll see a 14% monthly average. What I like to see is to look at this trend line, and this is where this is very critical. Look at the trend line, plot your monthly uplifts in conversion rates, and as long as you see that trend line going up, you are doing well and you are on your way to conducting a successful conversion rate optimization program. And one of the areas that we focus on is the first, in this particular case, the first 6 months where the customer was just kind of jumping all over the place, trying random things without an actual process or methodology. Here's another sample, and what I wanted to point out in this particular customer, this is more realistic. As you see over here, look at the first 4 months of testing, and the first 4 months I think are very critical, and Ayat can talk to us about the first 4 months and why we consider them to be most critical in conducting a successful conversion optimization program. Ayat, let me throw it to you.
Yeah, definitely. In terms of those first few months, it's still a matter of trying to really understand the customers, understand their behavior on the site, and kind of building different customer profiles based on the information that we collect, whether it's from analytics, whether it's through the different tests that you're conducting. At any type of an engagement that we have with any of our partners, we ask them first to complete a marketing questionnaire. But as much information as they give you, until we really understand what's impacting them in terms of the different hypotheses that we're presenting to the customer and really analyzing the results of different tests, we're still understanding what areas have kind of that strong impact. So those first few months are very critical. Not to say that we don't have, we haven't given our partners any type of an uplift in those first few months. Definitely, we do see consistent results, and we do see that we are able to give them those uplifts. But at the same time, we are still developing our understanding of the customer base. So even if we're giving you an uplift, we're still understanding the customer base.
Very good, excellent, excellent. So yeah, I always think whether you're working with a conversion rate optimization company or you're doing something on your own, those first 3 to 4 months those months are your chance to understand the website visitors, what makes them tick, what makes them convert, and what doesn't really impact them. It's your chance to experiment with different hypotheses, understand the type of market, the type of visitor that comes to your website. And I think the minute you start understanding that, that would help you tremendously in the long run, over a 16-month period, a 24-month period, 36-month period, to have consistent increases in conversion rates. If you're just
Yeah,
starting
and
to...
I'll add to that, Khalid, if I can just interject a
Go,
little
sure.
bit. A lot of times, when we engage different partners, what they say is, well, based on what we think works best. And you were saying this before where, sometimes customers will conduct tests based on what they just think that would work. It's not a lot of times about what you think, it's about your customers in the end, because sometimes what you think about the site isn't what your customers believe and what is going to have an impact on them. And we've seen this so many times where, the version that actually wins is what the customer did not like and did not want to win, because they really did not expect that to be kind of just the design that they would go with. But customers reacted positively to this specific hypothesis, to this specific test.
Yeah, perhaps one of the funniest areas, and this almost happens with us, with lots of the partners that we work with, lots of the customers that we work with. You come up with a new design, you run it through a testing software, and you have a winning variation, and the CEO or the VP of marketing just absolutely hates that winning design. And although the winning design sometimes generate 5-6%, I think in one of the cases, we had a winning design for the category pages that generated a 30% uplift in sales. And the CEO of that company said, you know what, I know it gave me so many sales, but I just hate it, absolutely hate it. And he went with the original design. Ultimately, they are the stakeholders. They have the final say. But when you go with a design that generates 30% less revenue, you're impacting your bottom line, for your own satisfaction. And as long as you're aware of that, that's fine. I see lots of questions are coming through. We're going to try and answer those. Hopefully towards the end of this webinar. Let's continue over here. Okay, and here is the trend line for this one particular customer. And as you see over here, and the first 3 to 4 months, and that's what I had talked about, is what we call the research month. They are your chance to understand your website visitor. And again, you see what you see is the trend line going up, and that's the positive trend line that we always want to look at in any conversion rate optimization program.
And I think, Khalid, what's interesting is if you look at those peaks, and you should see within every couple of months, you should see kind of a peak in conversion. Because there are, of course, and this is what is very challenging about conversion optimization, there are external factors that impact conversion. It's not only necessarily the tests that you're conducting. There are other factors outside of your control that impact the test or the site performance. But kind of seeing these different peaks is very important in conversion optimization.
Definitely. Now look at this customer data, and this is where it's interesting. You start with a 1.22% uplift in conversion rate. Second and third month are doing perfectly nice results. With 10% uplift, 20% uplift. The fourth month you're hitting a different type of page. The fourth month you might be going to the category pages while you didn't test them in the first 3 months, and you see a negative 1.55%, and that is very realistic. The assumptions that you made in the category pages did not work as well, while the assumptions that you made, for example, in the checkout process worked tremendously well for the website. Again, as you go from one area to the next, you're trying to figure out the visitors, how they interact with the website, and you have high points with a 55% uplift in conversion rates, and you have some low points with look at this, the 6th month over here. Definitely an irrelevant hypothesis was made in this case, where the visitors did not react completely to the tests, neither positively or negatively. Again, kind of let's finish up this section, and I really want to drill this into the minds of everybody who is thinking about conversion optimization. You need to allow for a minimum of 3 to 4 months if you want to conduct a successful conversion optimization program. Think about that. The first 3 to 4 months are your chance really to lay the groundwork for a successful program that would run. If you know how to do it correctly, you should be able to run it for years, not months. Finally, one of the questions that I've asked early: what kind of average uplift should I see on monthly basis? And really, the average uplift that we like to target is about 5% average uplift month to month. Now, by the way, if you think about this, if you are able to achieve a 5% average uplift month to month, that would translate to a 79% increase in conversion rates on annualized basis. 79% is tremendous. I know the average that we do at Invest is 65%. So that tells you that we, on average, we don't even do, our targets really for our teams to produce about 4.25 month to month. And because it's cumulative, if you're able to achieve that, you will see a tremendous increase in your conversion rates. And of course, when you do that, you see a tremendous increase in your revenue as well. Now, the second portion that we want to talk about, technology. A portion that people don't pay close attention to, yet it impacts conversion optimization tremendously. So you want to think about this, and this could be very easy or it could be very complicated. So let's get into that. By technologies, and regardless of the type of website, whether you're running a lead generation type website, a content type website, or an e-commerce website, when I'm talking about technology, we are talking about the ability to make changes to a page or a set of pages on the website. So if you think about an e-commerce website, the simple question that we always ask, how easy is it for us to introduce a new product page design, to have 3 or 4 or 5 different product page designs? How easy is it for us on a content website to have multiple layouts for your article pages? Or on lead generation website, how easy is it for us to produce a web form and route the traffic between those different web forms to capture the leads? Now, for some of you, you're thinking, well, this should be very easy for me. However, it will really depend on the type of solution that you have. Now, in this webinar, we're talking specifically about e-commerce, but I think you can apply the same lessons on all types of different websites that are available out there. If you think about the different types of e-commerce websites and the technology that is used in them, you will either have a custom developed solution, so you had a developer or a development team develop the website. You will have, or the second option is you will have a hosted solution. And the third option is you'll have a packaged solution. So you bought a package, you might have customized it, but you started at least with a packaged solution. And let's talk about each one of those and how that impacts your conversion optimization program. I'll start with the custom-developed solution. Custom-developed solution, like I mentioned, you probably have a development team in-house or outside firm that developed the solution, the e-commerce website for you, or let's say the content website or the lead generation type website for you. Typically, conversion optimization, the way we conduct conversion optimization for these programs is easy to medium in terms of difficulty to implement. And the difficulty really will depend on the quality of the code. So if you come from a development background, you probably heard the term spaghetti code. And we've dealt with some partners where we ask them to make a simple modification on a simple screen, and they come back and they say, this simple modification that typically will take about 2 hours will take them 2 weeks to implement. If you are stuck in a situation like this, then conversion optimization becomes very, very difficult to implement, because ultimately, if something is going to take 2 weeks to implement, you have to think about your time and resource allocation and the ROI on implementing that simple change. So the cleaner the code is, the easier it will be to implement conversion optimization program. The other end of the spectrum is what we call the hosted solution. So think about the couple of examples that I always like to give: Yahoo, Volusion. There's plenty of hosted solutions out there. I think we did a survey at some point, and there were over 1,000 hosted solutions, e-commerce hosted solutions, but they're not all as popular. Yahoo is probably the most popular e-commerce hosted solution out there. Now, by a hosted solution, what do I mean? I mean, you do not have an actual server. You do not actually have to worry about maintaining code. The company, the hosting company, the e-commerce company provides you with a specific installation on their own server. They do everything from when it comes to software upgrades. And when it comes to hosted solution, in most of the cases, you're sharing the same code base with thousands of other customers. Now that doesn't mean you cannot do customizations to it. You probably can change the look and feel of that package. You can install different templates, but sometimes, let's say you want to change major functionality of how visitors want to flow. Sometimes that will depend on the hosted solution itself, and some hosted solutions are very flexible. Some are not. Some just basically tell you, well, here's the package. You can change a little bit when it comes to look and feel, but you cannot change visitor flow. Some allow you really to a great deal of flexibility, and this also will depend on the team that you have that really handles making changes to the particular website. I know, Ayat, we don't deal with a whole lot of hosted solutions. We sort of shy away from them. Anything you want to add over here?
No, I think, and the reason why this is really critical and important to mention is just because a lot of times as somebody in the marketing department, you don't necessarily deal with the development team, and so there isn't that kind of communication, so you don't have a good understanding of what it's going to take. So that's, I think the purpose of this is just really like get together with your team and let's kind of understand, okay, what is it going to take to start, some type of a conversion optimization program.
Mm. Now let's go back to the third type of package. The third technology is what we call a packaged solution. So in this case, you don't develop things from scratch, but there are rather packaged solutions, e-commerce packages that are available in the marketplace. Those range in cost from probably you can buy something as cheap as $100 and up to you can spend millions of dollars. Actually, in a previous life, I had worked with the Sterling IBM platform. I was a software architect, and those packages cost, I think, as low as probably the cheapest that you can get a Sterling package, and that was a few years ago, about $200,000. And I think I've seen some of these projects cost up to $10, $15 million to install the package and do the customization that are required to it. Now, the beauty of doing these packages is they've done many of the things that you want to do just out of the box. You just install it on the servers, and you have an e-commerce solution that is ready. And the nice thing about those is conducting a CRO program is easy to medium. It really depends on the package and how the package is implemented, and that's a reality. Some of these packages are not necessarily written very well, and conducting conversion optimization can be difficult. Some of the packages that are available in the marketplace are people are familiar with. Elastic Path, great software package available. Sterling, that was purchased by IBM. Magento, at some point in time, we did not hear about Magento. I would say 70% of our customers nowadays, e-commerce customers, are running Magento, either the Enterprise or the Community Edition. Great software package, but you need the right development team knowing what to change on that in that package. Now, here's a graph that I want to show kind of the difficulty to conduct a conversion optimization program based on the type of package. So as you see, a package software is kind of the easiest to change if you have a clean package, very closely followed by your custom developed solution. Hosted solutions, some of those hosted solutions we shy away from. They're just extremely difficult to manage. We just basically do not want to change them, or we don't have the ability to even conduct a conversion optimization program when it comes to some of these hosted solutions. Now, so one of the areas that you want to think about is, well, how do I know whether my technology supports a conversion optimization program or not? So when you are in doubt, start with a POC, a proof of concept. The goal from the proof of concept really is to focus on the technology question of the conversion optimization program. Is it going to be easy for me to implement a conversion optimization program based on my particular technology? And in order for you to answer that, you just conduct a simple test. The goal from this test is not to really think about the analysis. The goal from this test is not to look at an increase in conversion rates. The goal from this test is just to see how easy is it for me to really conduct conversion optimization program when I am ready to move forward. Then go from this way you'll understand the limitations of your particular technology solution, and also you'll understand the resource and time commitment required from you to conduct that program.
So do you have any examples of what a proof of concept test would be like?
Sure. So I recall we've done a proof of concept for a large chain restaurant at some point. We wanted to see whether their technology solution would allow us to support creating 4 different product pages with 4 different layouts, and they didn't have to be different. We just wanted to see how the traffic will be able to be routed between those 4 different pages. So that was one proof of concept that we did. We did another proof of concept where we wanted to see different layouts for a cart page. The actual layouts were hardly any different, but we wanted to see, does the technology allow us to load something like that? Are we able to conduct that? Are we able to actually capture route visitors correctly between those different layouts? And are we able to capture conversions as well? Resources. Now, think about, before we get into the resources required to conducting a successful conversion optimization program, you need to think about the conversion optimization process. And we always say that the conversion optimization process is summarized by 3 letters: plan, implement, improve. Those are the different elements of successful conversion optimization program. In the planning stage, you need to determine what are the underperforming areas of your website. You need to determine what changes are required to those areas. That's kind of the first stage. The second stage, you need to implement the changes or the test plans. The third and last and most important stage is improving. You need to build up on the tests that you've implemented. Now let's take each one of those stages and think about the resources required to conducting a successful conversion optimization program. Lots of times people sort of say, well, I want to jump into conversion optimization, and they don't think about all that is required. Now, when you do full planning, you ensure success at the end. In the very first stage, the goal from the very first stage, which is the planning stage, there are 2 things that you have to do. The first step is determining what are the underperforming areas of my website. Do I have a problem with my product pages? Do I have a problem with my checkout process? Do I have a problem with my main home page? And this is a very critical area of a conversion optimization program, because if you start in the wrong area, you've spent time and resources and you don't see an uplift. What's the input in order for you to conduct a successful stage 1? It's in your analytics data. There's a wealth of data available for you in your analytics. The output from that stage is what we call an analytics assessment. The analytics assessment will tell you, here is the prioritization of your different areas, and here is where the areas that you should focus on. You start with your category pages, then you go to the checkout process, then you go to the main home page. It's an actual full plan. And this full plan, by the way, needs to happen on monthly basis. This is something that you have to think about, because analytics and how visitors navigate through your website is available to you, but you need to look at that data and spend some time analyzing it. In order for you to be able to do that, you need an analytics analyst, somebody who specializes in analytics, looking at that data and really coming up with good reasons why you should focus on a particular set of pages. Lots of times when we talk to partners, I always ask them the question, well, how much time do you spend on analytics? And lots of times, not enough. The reality of it, if you're not looking at the analytics every day, you're probably leaving lots of money on the table. The second stage is determining, well, I understand now that my product pages are the first area of priority that I should be focused on. The question that's really you need to do is to say, well, so what changes should I be making on these product pages? So you take that analytics assessment, you take that prioritization that was produced during the first stage, and you run that page through a detailed analysis to say, okay, so on these particular product pages, what should I be changing? Should I be changing the headline, the image? And we're going to talk about this in a little bit. But ultimately, the goal is to produce a test plan. Now, in order for you to do this, you need a CRO specialist or analyst. And of course, you don't always have to go and hire somebody outside. You just need somebody who spends time thinking about a particular page from a CRO perspective. Just like how you have an SEO consultant or somebody in your house that spends time thinking about SEO, you need somebody who specializes in CRO. And they are kind of the mindset of an SEO consultant is always thinking, if you think about this, it's thinking about the search engines and how do we attract search engines. A CRO analyst, and I know some people will disagree with me about the SEO consultant versus the CRO, but the CRO is always focused on the visitor. Now, we are always thinking, well, how do I persuade a visitor to take a particular action? So those are kind of the first 2 stages. The first 2 stages of conducting or completing the planning session of a conversion optimization program. The second phase is the implementation. Now I know that I prioritize that my product pages are what needs to be fixed. I know the test plan of what changes need to be implemented on that product pages. Now you need to go through the implementation phase. Now we take the theory and the test plan that was just on paper, for example, and now we start producing graphics for what are the variations based on the test plan that was produced by our CRO analyst to say, okay, what are the changes? How would those actually look? So you have a graphic designer going through the test plan and starting to produce that new look and feel for the new product pages. The stage 2 of the implementation, what you need to do is you take those graphics and you start producing HTML. So now, while the stage 1 produces just images, now stage 2 is actually translating those images into actual HTML. And in this case, you need a web designer to do that translation. Stage 3 of the implementation, now I have my HTML. You need to take a development team who's familiar with your particular technology, and at this point in time, they'll be able to implement that HTML into your actual website, and at this point in time, you'll have a test-ready website. Now, sometimes people tell me, wow, this is an overwhelming. At this point, we've had a graphic designer, web designer, development team, we've had a CRO consultant, we have an analytics consultant, and I always tell them, one person can play all these different roles, or 2 or 3 different people. Typically on our own engagements, on our own projects, we actually have different people doing all these different roles. But if you're a smaller company, you can have one resource doing these multiple roles as long as they know what they are doing. The final stage is analyzing the results and determining the next plan, the next test plan that you're going to implement, and the inputs from that is the test results that were just produced after conducting a test result, and you'll use the CRO and analytics analyst that you've used in the first stage. So here is how the data feeds. You start with the analytics data, you produce the assessment plan, that produces the test plan, that gives you graphics and HTML, and then you implement the test, and sort of this continuous process. Here are the different resources that you want to think about in terms of budget, time, resource allocation. Like I mentioned, analytics analyst, CRO analyst, graphics and web designer, development team, and of course, you will need project management to be able to run this successfully, watch that everything is implemented within time, in timely manner, and within the budget. But it's lots of times people jump into conversion optimization program without thinking about all the requirements that are needed. And I think it's very important to think about all of these elements in order for you to have successful conversion optimization program. Ayat, anything you want to add?
I mean, I think in general, and that's where kind of, and I think I made this point before, is just that communication between all the different teams and ensuring that you have kind of an understanding from every team and what every team requires. And I think a lot of times, companies have outside web design teams or outside or kind of outsource their development team. In those cases, you just have to have that clarity of, okay, well, we are planning a conversion optimization program. What is it going to take? Because I find that a lot of times pricing and kind of just the increase in price of the project overall comes from that issue. So you just want to ensure that there's a really clear understanding of how many hours are allocated and why something should take this much time for implementation and so forth.
Very good. Excellent. Let's move on, and we're nearing the webinar. And by the way, we have lots of questions I'm going to try and answer. We'll just run quickly through them and answer some of them, but I'm just trying to finish some of the stuff that we've had prepared for you guys over here as well. And of course, by the way, we'll have the webinar recording on our website. I think you should receive an email from our team. We're planning to do it by Friday, hopefully before then, with the webinar recording. We have 2 more points that we want to cover, so let's move. The starting point. Where should you start conversion optimization? I've mentioned this, and I want to emphasize it again and again. One of the challenges with conducting a successful conversion optimization program is a less than obvious starting point. Lots of times I give talks at conferences. I always ask the same question: how do you determine what pages you should start on? Unfortunately, if you think about conversion optimization, we've been doing this for many years. When we first started conversion optimization, people did not even know what testing meant. When you told somebody you need to conduct testing, they thought about quality assurance. They did not think about A/B or multivariate testing. So there was this culture that developed that says, just start testing. Test anywhere. And the answers to trying to increase conversion rates, which is a sophisticated, complex problem, the answers were too simplistic. And unfortunately, I think that that culture continues until now. Lots of times people tell me, well, look at the pages with the highest bounce rate. Let's look at the pages with the highest exit rate. And yes, that is fine. That is the problem with that. Those are too simplistic answers to a very complex question. What you need to do in order for you to answer this is you need to look at how visitors are navigating throughout your website. What is the visitor flow throughout the website, and how are visitors interacting with the website? Now, typically, when we look at an e-commerce website, and this is, I dare say, applies to about 90% of the e-commerce websites that we deal with, lots of times we see anywhere between 1 to 3 funnels set up. Lots of times we see no funnels set up, no goals set up in the e-commerce website if you think about it in Google Analytics. Of course, if you have Omniture installed, one of the nice things about Omniture, it comes, well, if you paid, it comes with some of the initial funnels set up, so that would help you understand how the visitors flow. But at a minimum, when you are ready to conduct a full conversion optimization program, we usually set up anywhere between 20 to 35 different funnels that track how visitors interact with the website in each juncture. That's very important. Here are some of the funnels that we say kind of the absolute minimum required. You need a funnel from your homepage to order confirmation. And this would include all the different steps from homepage, category pages, product pages, cart page, checkout process, step 1, step 2, until the order confirmation. You need a funnel from your category pages to product pages. It tells you about your category page flow-through rate. You need a funnel from your product pages to the cart page. You need a funnel that tracks your cart abandonment, and you need a funnel that tracks your checkout abandonment. Think about those 5 funnels, and like I said, those are 5 from 20 to 35 different funnels. I'm not going to give you all the answers. That's the reality of it, but at least this will get you started thinking about the different funnels that you want to have in your website. Finally, we'll finish with this, the guessing game. Throw a page in front of you. This is kind of a typical page for one of our older customers. And the question I always ask, what changes should I be making on this page to increase conversion rates? I can change the copy. Maybe I should change the headline, maybe the main images, product images. Why not change the whole page layout and colors? There's absolutely thousands of things that you can change, and you can probably find a good reason why you should change those. If you can sit there and rationalize it, you can come up with some reason at least why you should make a particular change. The problem when you do this, you are just purely guessing, and purely guessing does not translate into an increase in revenue. What we do, and we cover this in plenty of other webinars, is you need to use the conversion rate uplift formula. You need to focus on the trust factors, you need to focus on the FUDs, you need to focus on incentives, engagement, the buying stage, the type of persona, and the complexity of the sale. This is not the time and place to try and drill on the conversion formula, but we've posted a webinar last month talking about just we barely touched the surface on trust and confidence, and will help you increase conversion rates when you think about trust and confidence. We'll be conducting further tests, further webinars to discuss each one of those factors when it comes to the conversion uplift formula. I think I have a couple more slides I want to go through before we jump into some questions over here. Of course, we cover the conversion uplift and the conversion framework in our book that's available. Actually, we've made the Amazon bestseller list several weeks. It's available on Amazon. You can order from there. Final slide that I have over here, our next month's webinar, Linda Bustos from Elastic Path. Linda is just absolutely wonderful, has been working and writing about conversion optimization for years. She's going to be talking about optimizing the e-commerce checkout process. You'll receive an email inviting you to that webinar, so please stay tuned. Let's take a look at a few of the questions and try and answer those. And let's see. I'm going to start with the kind of one of the questions that came. Are you saying that the Yahoo stores are not a viable candidate for the conversion optimization? Not at all. You just have to have the right team that knows the Yahoo store. One of our largest customers actually right now is on a Yahoo store platform, and they do well. The challenge with the Yahoo store is you need to have the team that knows how to implement and conduct A/B multivariate testing on a Yahoo store. So that's what you want to keep in mind. How much traffic?
What I'd add to that, Khalid, is just the resources involved with the Yahoo store might be a little bit more significant than another e-commerce package. So that's kind of just the concern with Yahoo stores.
Very good, excellent. How much traffic do you need each month in order to conduct a meaningful conversion testing? I know lots of companies will tell you that you need a minimum of 15 to 20,000 visitors per month. I want to think about it differently. I don't focus really on the number of visitors. 20,000 is probably reasonable, but I am more concerned about the number of conversions you get per month. In order for you to do any type of testing, conversion optimization testing, you need a minimum of 200 orders per month, 200 conversions per month. So if you're an e-commerce website, you need 200 orders. If you're a lead generation type website, you need 200 leads generated from your website. Now, in order really to have meaningful conversion optimization where you can actually start seeing some of these uplifts, of course, the more conversions you get, the more variations you can introduce to your website. So we usually recommend a minimum of 400 orders, 400 conversion transactions per month.
Yeah, and what I'd add to that also, if you do have, for example, 200 conversions, we usually say for every 100 conversions, you have one test scenario. So, if you're doing a test, you don't want more than 3 different variations to that particular test. So that's something you should be.
Very good. One of the questions came about, I think several questions actually came about the testing results that we showed, the 20% and the 10% uplift. Those are actually month to month. So 20% is basically compared to the previous month, not based on the baseline. So if you start with let's say 1% conversion rates on the first month and you produce a 10% uplift, then the second month you're starting with 1.1. And let's say you produce another 10%, so the second month you're starting from, or the third month you're starting with 1.21. So yeah, this is cumulative comparing on a monthly basis, not going back and comparing to the original website. Let's go back to the next. We talked a little bit about the methodology. Like I said, we have specific webinars that are going to cover the methodology, that continue to cover the methodology. In terms of the testing package, and let's finish with this solution, there's plenty of testing packages out there. The reality of it's, there are different packages that are strong in different areas. Google Website Optimizer, Visual Website Optimizer, you have Omniture Test and Target. One of the packages that we usually start our customers with is Google Website Optimizer. We eventually graduate them to a more complex or sophisticated solution, but we don't usually start with, we don't like to pay for software for testing packages, at least to start with. Now, at the same time, Google Website Optimizer comes with its limitations. You need to have a good, solid technical resource, and if you don't know what you're doing, you can really shoot yourself in the foot. I know there's plenty of questions out there. I hope we try to answer most of them. I want to keep these webinars to less than an hour. We've already probably exceeded our hour time limit. We hope that you enjoyed this webinar. And we hope that you will join us. You'll join us in next month's webinar with Linda Bustos. Thank you, everybody, for joining us, and we'll talk to you guys soon.